Hello and welcome to another midweek edition of Championship Predictions from the Sport Podcast. I'm Craig Savage and with me is Daniel Cody. There is no Charlie Betts, he's been ill, but he'll be back on Thursday for the weekend edition of Championship Predictions. Let's have a quick recap from the weekend, and obviously from our fantastic result last midweek. The weekend wasn't as strong. There's only one perfect score in there. That was my 2-1 QPR win for Bournemouth. So I win my birthday edition, so I'm quite happy about that. With 7 points, Charlie, the second place, with 6 to Daniel Cody's 3 points. So overall, the table looks like this. I'm now on 220 with 38 perfect scores. Daniel Cody has reached 200 with 30 perfect scores, and Charlie Betts is slowly creeping up with 194 with 28 perfect scores. So let's move on to this midweek edition on Tuesday night. We'll start off with Birmingham City versus Norwich. Cody, Birmingham City, what a crucial win away from home at Sheff Wednesday.
It was. We sort of kept hinting that if there's one more defeat, it's going to be all out for Karanka, but they pulled one out the bag, albeit against 10 men in the second half. I'm not sure Liam Shaw will have made himself any more popular with the Sheffield Wednesday fans, but Birmingham were good. They competed well. They were fighting for the manager, which is something that you've got to give them and something that probably is a good sign for Karanka moving forward. We said it was a 6-pointer in last week's episode, and as it proved. But I think that'll be the end of the run because they're coming up against the Norwich side who are back in scintillating form. I know that we risk making the same mistake as last week because we all went for 2 or 3-0 and then it was 1-0 against Rotherham, but I have to do it again because Norwich generally are very good and they're amongst the goals again, particularly Pookie. So I'm going to go for 2-0 to Norwich.
Yeah, great result for Birmingham at the weekend. They really needed that, or awful form. It's either going to be 2 or 3-0, let's be honest. I can't see Birmingham scoring against a strong Norwich side anyway. Maybe pick a hard one to copy. Because it's going to be either way. I'm going to go 3-0. And Charlie Betts has also gone 3-0 to Norwich. Up next at Pride Park, it's Derby versus Huddersfield. Huddersfield produced a shock result of the weekend.
Don't know what to say about it. 4-1 to Huddersfield against Swansea. When's the last time Swansea conceded 4? But then Huddersfield, they won away at Swansea earlier in the season, and it was a shock result then. We probably should have seen it coming. But as it is, it ends an awful run of form. I guess them and Stoke both did that at the weekend. Derby then, a narrow defeat of Watford, but I don't think that's enough to ruin their form. They've been generally very good. At home, they've been solid. Their last 2 back-to-back wins against Borough and City. Oh, I think Derby will probably nick this one. I know that Huddersfield have got back to form, but generally they've been awful on the road this season. So I'm going to go for Derby to nick it. But after the thrillers of the weekend, I'm going back to a boring, drab 2-1 victory, but it'll be a lot of set pieces.
Yeah, I watched Derby a bit on Friday night, and they pretty much gave the game away in the first 20-odd minutes with 2 quick goals for Watford. Huddersfield, yeah, brilliant result. Absolutely fantastic result. Dwayne Holmes' second goal at the 4 o'clock was unbelievable. Great striker. But I don't think Derby will win this game either. I don't know. I think Huddersfield would be buoyant on that victory. I think they could possibly grow. Derby, yeah, obviously disappointing. They got back into it, but it wasn't enough anyway, in my opinion. I don't think they deserved anything from it. But I think it could be a draw, actually. So I'm going to go for 1-1. Charlie Betts has gone for Derby 2, Huddersfield 0.
Oh.
Up next at the Riverside Stadium, it is Middlesbrough versus Bristol City. Neil Warnock obviously got that win against Reading and says it's his best performance of the season.
Yeah, they were very good. And it's back-to-back wins after a slightly dodgy run. And they're coming up against the side they probably would have liked to have picked, as it stands, to come up against in that position. What we've got to factor in again, like we did in the week, is are Bristol City going to have a manager by then? And I'd guess based on their performance against Barnsley, anything they were doing, they might want to hurry up slightly if they want any chance of salvaging the season. But Middlesbrough, they were perfect. We always see it in the Championship this year. The team that has less possession normally wins. Middlesbrough gave up possession. They sat deep. And on the counter, they looked absolutely fantastic. They were strong from set pieces too. So, I mean, based on it is at the moment, with Bristol City having no manager, it has to be a Middlesbrough win. And I've gone big on this one. I've gone for logic at the weekend and it's got me 3 points out of 36. So I'm going big. Middlesbrough 3, Bristol City 0.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go for a Middlesbrough win as well. Yeah, fantastic result of the weekend against Reading. Bristol City, when you have someone who's part of this, was the assistant manager, he's taking care of taking charge. I still feel it's exactly the same. They probably would have done the same training method, and look what happened. They got the same result, 7 straight defeats now. And we might as well just make it 8 straight defeats now for Bristol City, because I've gone for Middlesbrough to win 2-1. So Middlesbrough are capable of conceding a goal at the moment at home, so I think they'll still hold on. I think there's still too much for them. Charlie has gone for Middlesbrough 1, Bristol City 0.
Oh, where's his classic?
Yeah, Neil Warnock special, as he would like to say. Up next at Kenilworth Road, it is Luton Town versus Millwall. I don't really want to talk about Luton's performance, because it's probably the worst performance I've seen since the 7-0 defeat from last season at Brentford.
Yeah, it wasn't great. The only one that I think rivals it is the 5-0 at home to Reading just after lockdown. But then that was in slightly similar circumstances. You've got to bear in mind we only had 4 defenders left, and they weren't all playing in a natural position. So it wasn't ideal, but it was a poor performance. And after the Cardiff game, we probably expected something a little bit tighter. I think the fact that we were so open and made so many individual errors is a concern. And now we're coming up against a Millwall side who are in really good form. The only 2 possible results for this game for me are a Millwall win or a draw, because that's all Millwall are doing at present. But they'll be disappointed they didn't get the winner at home to Wycombe, because 0-0 is not the scoreline any of us predicted. And I think most people would have piled on for a Millwall win. They did have the better of the stats, but again, they had 2/3 of the possession near enough, and they couldn't make it count. I've gone for 1-1, and I'll tell you why I've gone for it, because every time Luton have played Millwall at home that I can remember recently, it's been 1-1. And it was always on TV. It's the same circumstances. Luton at midweek, under the lights, if it's ever going to come back, it's going to be now. We need a few more points, and I think this will be one of them. So Luton 1, Millwall 1.
Obviously, Luton had a fantastic midweek record at Kenilworth Road, and they've lost their last 2. It's not been pretty. The game was awful on Saturday. Too many mistakes. Some players need that timeout. Maybe just to freshen up, I think. Obviously, defenders-wise, we can't really do that because we've got no defenders left. Yeah. I think attacking-wise, we just don't look like scoring again. And it's so frustrating yesterday. And to lose to Stoke as well. I think the one team that I think Luton fans would probably want to get someone over is Stoke or Watford. But, yeah, it was really disappointing. Millwall, 0-0 against Wycombe. You could probably give Wycombe more praise than Millwall, to be fair. I think they'll be disappointed. But I don't think Luton will win this game either. And every time I say that, they do win the game. So I'll take one for the team. I'm going to go for Luton 1, Millwall 2. Charlie Betts has also gone for a Millwall win of 2-0. Up next to the New York Stadium, it is Rotherham United versus Nottingham Forest. Charlie's going to say, Chris Hughton masterclass again. He got that 1-0 victory.
And I'll be shocked if that's not what he's gone for again. But Rotherham, 3 defeats in a row, But generally, I mentioned this in the last episode, they've only lost against the very top teams. The 4 games they've lost recently, Norwich, Bournemouth, Cardiff, Swansea, who are all going to be up there now, particularly with Mick McCarthy at Cardiff. But they beat Preston, they beat Derby, they've beaten teams around them and picked up points. And I honestly think because Forest, despite dominating the game again, they didn't get a lot of chances in front of goal that they took. It's been a common theme for them. 1 goal in 3 games, and they probably should have had 5 or 6. So I'm going to go for Rotherham to nick this one, just because I don't think Forest will take their chances, despite probably having the better of the game. They're going to be fighting to give up the possession, but Rotherham are going to nick it 2-1.
I'm going opposite way, to be honest. I haven't really backed Forest as much, and Charlie has backed them a lot, and Forest have picked up wins or points. And I'm going to go for that theory. Normally he'd go for 1-0 Nottingham Forest, and he'd be not right. And I've gone for 1-0 Nottingham Forest because I feel like it's going to be right. Charlie has gone not for 1-0, to be honest. He's gone for it. No, it's very rare. He's actually gone higher. He's gone for Rotherham 1, Nottingham Forest 2, which 2 goals. I don't know about that, but we'll have to wait and see. Up next, Adams Park, is Wycombe Wanderers versus Reading. Reading, bubbles burst. What's going on again?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've had a few injuries recently, but that probably doesn't excuse this weekend. Albeit they got the victory against Bristol City. Aside from that, and against sides that aren't in disarray, they haven't really looked like winning recently. So I'm a little bit concerned about this fixture. And this is probably another one where I've gone for a surprise because Wycombe was solid. They were defensively sound against Millwall. And that's probably what's been missing the last few games, even against Huddersfield where they won. I just got a sneaky feeling about this game. All the sides at the top are just starting to have their wobble at the same time. They're all fighting to not be in that top 2. Reading are drifting away quite quickly. There's nothing on it in terms of stats that suggests that Wycombe are going to win. But as I said, stats got me 3 points at the weekend. So 1-0 Wycombe.
I'm going to go opposite way, to be honest. Same scoreline, opposite way. I think Reading will need that sort of victory. 1-0 to Reading for me. Hopefully, Lucas Shaw can turn up again. Charlie has gone for Wycombe 1, Reading 3.
Wow.
Up next at Oakwell, it is Barnsley versus Stoke. Barnsley keep playing away for 1-0 victory. Stoke 3-0 wasn't a flattening scoreline. It could have been more.
It could have been. I mean, if Simon Sluga wasn't in the form of his life, it could have been probably 6 or 7 and very ugly. But Barnsley are in great form as well, and that's what makes this one hard. Stoke have won 2 in a row without conceding. Barnsley have won 3 in a row and only conceded 1. And they're unbeaten in quite some time in the league. So at home, they've generally been stronger. I think I have to back Barnsley to score, but I think Stoke are back in form as well. So despite the fact they've both been really defensively solid recently, I've just got a sneaky suspicion this is going to be a thriller. And I'm going on instincts again here, but I think this is going to be the game of midweek. It's going to be Barnsley 2, Stoke 2.
I disagree, to be fair. I bash Stoke a lot on this show. To be honest, it was quite easy for them. I think they just laid down and said, here you go. And 2 of the 3 goals were tap-ins, and it was so bad. It was too easy for them. I think the goalkeeper can lay on the sunbed and have a pina colada. That's how easy they had it. But I still didn't think much of Stoke. I don't generally think much of Stoke. I thought it was just very easy for them. And once it won 1-0, the game was over, to be fair. Barnsley, yeah, you take the one that was the scrappiest goal I've seen this season in the Championship. Pinball was in the penalty area, but they've got the goal. So well done to them. I do think they can beat the Stoke side, to be fair. I really do. I'm going to go for Barnsley 2, Stoke 1. Charlie, because he's got his big head on Michael O'Neill being the masterclass victory over Luton, he has gone for the classic 1-0 to Stoke.
It was the most certain thing of midweek.
He knew as soon as Luton lost to Stoke, he knew it was going to be Michael O'Neill's a genius.
Yeah.
Up next at the Brentford Community Stadium, it is Brentford versus Sheff Wednesday. Charlie's prediction of Brentford bottom is starting to come true. 3 straight defeats, and they did not look like they're going to get back into that game against Coventry.
No, they were really poor. And I mean, going for the penalty for the first goal, the defending was so poor. It lacked anticipation after coming back out from the keeper. It's a bit of a worrying sign for Brentford. 3 straight defeats, conceded 2 in each of them. The goals have dried up. Obviously, no Ivan Toney at the weekend. Not sure if you will have known from the commentators mentioning it about 600 times. But Sheffield Wednesday have run back-to-back defeats as well, and they're not scoring. So, I mean, there's a lot about this game that makes you think it might be 0-0, but I've just got a sneaky suspicion Brentford are going to pop back to form this time. We thought they might be out of the top 2 by now, but Swansea have obviously kept them in there, so there's still that little bit of pressure, but I can just see this being the one where it turns. So it's not going to be an exciting victory, but I think Brentford will nick it by 2-1 because Sheffield Wednesday are in poor form too.
Yeah, both teams are in poor form. You'd probably say it's probably going to be the most boring game, but Brentford do play very good football. I think when you get on a bad run of form defeats, you need that victory, a scrappy victory. Nothing pretty. You get the 1-0 victory, get out there, go home, and you'll be buzzing on 3 points. And that's what I think they're going to do, to be fair. I think they just need to get back to that victory mode, move on from there. I think Brentford will win this game 1-0. Charlie has not gone for Brentford to win because he still thinks they'll bottle it. He has gone for a draw of 1-1.
He obviously doesn't think Winston Reid's starting.
Speaking of teams up there, Swansea City are playing Coventry at the Liberty Stadium. Coventry, great. We just spoke about that game against Brentford, but Swansea, what went wrong? Because they were so comfortable. They don't really concede goals, and they conceded 4.
It's just the turn up of the books of the weekend. It happens occasionally. We said at Swansea at home to Huddersfield, the same happened. Maybe it's just a bogey team. I can't put anything else to it. I don't think it's going to be a long-lasting problem because they've still won back-to-back home games against 2 good sides, including Norwich and Forest, obviously. So I wouldn't read too much into it. Ironically, Swansea had less of the possession at Huddersfield and lost the game, which is almost unheard of in the Championship this year. But Huddersfield only had 5 shots on target and scored 4 of them. So it's not something that's going to happen every week. Coventry did it perfectly. They gave up the possession. They were brilliant going forward. And they thoroughly deserved the win, which we probably didn't see coming. And they needed that because they were getting dragged right into the relegation dogfight. So a good result for them. But I think at home, Swansea are still going to be safe. They've still got 2 games in hand to make it into the top 2. So I think they're going to do all right. I'm going to go for Swansea to win it. And we all know the law by now. Swansea 2, Coventry 0 at home.
I've gone for the same theory of what I just said, Brentford, really. Obviously, even though they're not on that board bad form, it's a bad result. Let's get back out there, scrappy victory. We'll move on to the next game. I think that's what we're going to do again. Obviously, 2-0 Swansea is a favourite result at home. As we say, I was going to change my mind. I did have 1-0. And I'm going to stick with 1-0. But with Coventry scoring at the weekend, none of us tipped them to score. The weekend nearly changed my mind because I might have gone for 2-1. But no, I'm going to stick with 1-0 to Swansea. Charlie thinks there'll be more goals than that. He's gone for 3-0. 3-0 to Swansea. Up next at Ewood Park is Blackburn Rovers versus Watford. Watford wasn't pretty, got the victory 2-1 on Friday night. Blackburn, another defeat. Do you think Tony Mowbray might be maybe thinking about could get the boot?
I don't know. I don't think Blackburn at the start of the season would have 100% expected to be in the top 6. They're falling away a bit later on. They haven't got as big a squad. Obviously, they brought in young centre-halves on loan on January. I think it's too early to say that. But 4 straight defeats doesn't look good. They're all by the odd goal, though. So it's only because the goals have started drying up. Obviously, Adam Armstrong was on fire at the start of the season. Sam Gallagher picked up what looked like a horrific injury at the weekend, so we wish him the best as well. I don't think Tony Mowbray is going to be in trouble anytime soon. However, I do think they'll be in trouble on Wednesday night, because they're playing against the Watford side who are in flying form. And their last away win was 1-0. The 2 games before that were 0-0 draws. So it can only be one of those 2 scores. I think because Blackburn have been conceding and because Watford are back in form, they're starting to find a way to win. And Xisco might be proving us wrong soon. So I'm going to go for Watford to nick an away win by 1-0.
Yeah, I think Xisco is pretty much the same with Ivic, but nothing spectacular. They're getting the result, but obviously they're getting the points in, and I do think they're going to get points again. No Deeney, obviously he's out again. But yeah, Tony, I said with Luton game, their last victory, I said they weren't great, Blackburn, and now they're starting to get found out for 4 straight defeats. And I think it'll be 5. I think Blackburn 0, Watford 2. Charlie has also gone for a Blackburn defeat, but this time by 2-1. Next up, it is Bournemouth versus Cardiff. Bournemouth obviously lost Jonathan Woodgate in temporary charge. He lost to QPR, but Mick McCarthy again, 4 goals, 4-0. Great result.
I mean, I thought that was going to be the surprise of the weekend, that everyone thought Cardiff will keep winning and then one will come along. And it will happen eventually. But my word, it didn't look like being the weekend. Brilliant performance. They're getting better and better. They're getting stronger defensively, which means just as much as the goals they're putting in at the other end. And they've got to be one of the favourites for the playoffs now, surely, which is good for me for my pre-season prediction. But Bournemouth's first defeat under Woodgate, I wouldn't worry too much, but you've got to go for Cardiff on recent form. I know it's going to turn out one day that they're not going to win it, but you have to back Cardiff in this form. So I'm going to go for Bournemouth 1, Cardiff 2. Bournemouth the same defeat as the weekend, despite the 3 clean sheets before it.
This is a hard one to pick because Bournemouth are capable of scoring goals. That's the thing. Cardiff just look dangerous. And really dangerous at the moment. The set pieces is very, very strong. And I feel this Bournemouth side are probably going to be quite weak on the set pieces, in my opinion. They don't really have any strong leaders to actually go and attack it, where Cardiff do when you've got Kiefer Moore and Flynn and Morrison. It could be goals galore in this game, to be fair. You never know. I've gone for Bournemouth 1, Cardiff 3. Charlie has gone one better. He's gone for Bournemouth 1, Cardiff 4.
Wow, that's bold.
That's very bold. I don't know. I know, obviously, Cardiff are scoring goals now. I don't think Bournemouth can see 4. So respect the pick. I disagree, though. I respect the pick. And the final game, it is Preston North End versus Queen's Park Rangers. Preston, disastrous day, conceded 4, missed 2 penalties.
Yeah, I think Alex Neil said that summed up the day. And there's been a few talks about him going, which is interesting. I mean, it always happens this time of year. Preston are in the playoff hunt, they slightly fall away. I will be fair, it's about the only thing me and Charlie got right in that transfer special, bar Charlie Austin, which we'll get to in a minute. We said that Preston overhauling 2/3 of their squad in the transfer window in the mid-season is never a good idea. And it has proven such, because 4 defeats in 5 now. QPR have been absolutely brilliant. We said that Luton game changed the season for them. They've been stunning since then. Charlie Austin's been brilliant. They've got a focal point up front. They're holding the ball up. It's just taking the pressure off the defence a little. And although they've maybe lost the brightest A Samuels, they've not got that counter-attacking speed. They've got someone who can stick there, which allows people to get up the pitch. So they're winning every game 2-1, which suggests that that's what I should go for. But because it's Preston and they love conceding a goal, I've just chucked 1 on top of it. So I'm going 3-1 QPR. Preston, they look in disarray.
Yeah, I totally agree. Everything you just said there, Preston look disarray. QPR from that Luton game do look like a different side to be fair. I think they've changed the way they had to play. And the thing is, QPR game against Bournemouth, they could have had 4 or 5 to be fair. And if Macaulay Bonne took his chances, probably the best result of the weekend up there with Huddersfield.
Got you some points though, didn't he?
It got me some points. So thank you for calling, Bonne. Thank you so much. But yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. To be fair, I don't see Preston winning this game either. The inconsistency and knowing then they'll probably get a result this week. But I don't agree with that though, because I'm gone for 1-0 to Queen's Park Rangers. And Charlie has gone for a QPR win as well. He's gone for 2-0. And let's have a quick recap of what we just predicted for this midweek. I've gone for 5 1-0s in this week. Yeah, it's midweek. It's always tight. Charlie has gone for a wild Cardiff for Bournemouth 1 away from home. And he's gone tight. He's gone loads of 2-1s, 2-2, and 3-1 QPR win away from home. That's the biggest away win of his predictions. And that is it for our prediction shows. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, give this video a like, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter @HonestFootball3. And we'll see you next time.